Hey, welcome to the last week of our Pathway series. I hope that as we've walked through the discipleship pathway at Maryland, you've gotten a clear picture of what your next step towards Christ looks like and how that can happen. This is an exciting week because we're going to talk about influence. Influence is a funny word because it's not always a word that we associate with our faith. And so here's what I want to say about what we mean when we say influence. Influence does not mean your followers on social media or your worldly popularity or how much money you have. Influence is simply the way that you take the gospel into the world around you. The reality of our faith is about us, but it's not just about us. It's about the people in our community, in our neighborhood, and around the world. And so as we look at the next step for a lot of us in our faith, the next step that we have to take involves us asking ourselves, how am I using the influence that God has given me? How am I being a believer that shares his faith in the workplace or in my neighborhood or at carpool or on a mission trip? What does it look like for us as a church to intentionally say, this is the area that God has gifted me, this is the area that God has called me, and this is what it looks like for me to steward that well? So as we talk about influence, it's an ongoing thing. We never stop growing in the way that we reach people. We never stop building relationships. We never stop serving people. We never stop loving our neighbors as we love ourselves, right? And so as we walk into our faith this week, what I really want to challenge you is, what are those areas in your life that God has given you influence? We all have them. Where are they for you? What are the areas that God's gifted you in? Like, what are you good at? We talked a little bit about this in our Radical Generosity series, but listen, what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? What do you have a passion for? And then the third question that I want you to think about is, where does that play out in Terre Haute? Where does that play out in an international mission partner? Where does that play out in our church? Where does that play out in the community? We don't just want to be a church that comes and gathers. We want to be a church that gathers to worship God and then goes out into the world with the good news, influencing Terre Haute, our country, and our world, that they all may take a step closer to Christ.